Hey guys, I got 2016 Chevrolet Trax. I put a turbo on it 6 months ago, and their son since has wrecked the front end of it, and it crushed the intercooler, and there's an oil leak, and I got the front bumper off the front grill, but I got a package in the mail today that I'm pretty excited to open. Every time you see Ukrainian writing on the mail package, you know something's coming, but it's kind of like these are all my friends' cars whenever they drop them off. Did you ever see the movie Goodfellas? You know, Paulie, why Paulie didn't move fast? Because Paulie didn't have to move fast. Well, I'm Paulie. So this car's in here for that, but I got a sensor in the mail today that I'm going to try. The whole time while it was in transit, I was thinking about the test I was going to do with it. It's one of them L4 test leads that you could get 4 coil over plug pickup signals on one channel. Because I was thinking on Hscope that would be devastating if you could have all 4. And you could get these on Rotkee.com. I'm going to leave a link down in the comments. But you could get these on Rotkee.com in different combinations. Just one, like one pickup. You could get them in 3. So if you had a V6, you could do two banks. Snap-on makes flags that do the same thing. I'll show you what those are, but Eugene took it to a little bit new level where you could just use double-sided tape instead of actually having to have a flag that fits the coil. And I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, this is what he smacked. I mean, it crushed the bumper. This thing's out of whack. They had the frame pulled. I mean, it even got into the condenser. Bent the top down. This part I could pound back up for him. Broke the radiator supports. Just broke it the rest of the way. Smashed up the front cover. I mean, look at the bumper. And then the cover. For inspection, the cover isn't as important. It didn't have fog lights, so it didn't take anything out down there, but that bumper got to go. And, they don't have a lot of money. They're disabled, so it's, try to keep it on the cheap for them. But, they don't care how long I have it. She has had open heart surgery, so it's, it's out of the car for a while. So I could stop and just go over to my package. But what I wanted to show you is these would work on individual coils better. But I'm just seeing that for my own curiosity. I lifted, this is that mono coil. It's just one coil. But it has the 4 leads. There's, 4 coils in it. I just wanted to pull it out a little bit. I could have guessed, but I wanted to pull it out and put one of these sensors above each one of the spark plugs and just see what it looks like on one channel. To sync the channels, the injectors are easy to get to, or with these, it's as simple as picking one of them up. Yeah, but if you wanted a good solid pattern that you could sync to, the injectors are pretty accessible. On that Nissan, the injectors, it was that GDI, and they were way down under. I mean, you couldn't even get there. You could have probed at the computer, but whenever I go just for my own, learning purposes, I don't like back probing, ECUs. I mean, sometimes I'm not going to put a wire piercer in, just to get a signal so I could learn something. Like I wouldn't take this coil and the plug out just to use the transducer for my own benefit. But if I was changing plugs on this, I might use a transducer. I mean, there's so many things that you could use a scope for. Like my ears don't like the way this thing sounds cranking. So there's definitely a starting and charging test. I mean, if you were doing this for a business, I'm doing it just so, they don't get let down somewhere in the winter, but if you're doing this as a business, they come in for something else. Your scope's going to, you're going to have proof of the starting and charging and, and the RC test if you choose in minutes. If you upsell a battery, I mean, that's great. You might get an alternator. I mean, who knows? I mean, on something that came in for something like that, you're just proving that, hey, this is going to save you a breakdown. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what even gave me this idea and why it's pretty cool that Rodkee sells these pretty cheap. Now, this is an older Snap-on Modus. This is about 2016. And pretty good scope, but I mean, pretty small screen. The accessories for it are very expensive and they're very outdated. But to understand where the idea came from, it's easier because I don't have all of the cables from Rodkey that would demonstrate the idea. But let me put this on a tripod. Now, you know it's serious if I got the green board and tripod out. Okay, the easiest way to demonstrate this is with what I got. These are pickups that come with the Modus. It's their ignition pickup modules. This would go to a coil, like a coil in cap. This would be like for GM, HEI, ignition, anything with a central coil. But what you're trying to do, if you ever heard in any Scanner Danner's videos, and that was the oscilloscope we had whenever I worked for a Chrysler dealership. It was just a big Sun machine, and it had one ignition pickup, and they still had coil wires then. And that's as far as I went with an oscilloscope, and there's like a 30-year gap in between. But we put them around, and that's how you found the missing cylinder. And I mean, if you did, plugs, cap, wires, rotor. And then if it was still missing, you know, compression test, leak down test, whatever. But the only thing we used it for was secondary ignition in a parade format. And that's what this would give you. This would give you all 8 firing events on one channel. And that's all the Sun machine had. That's all it was doing. It had a couple channels you could use on voltage. You know, it's pretty cool to have a screen hanging over an engine that you could just look right up at and see for multimeters. This is the same thing. This is made for different coils. But there's, I don't know, probably close to 20 different one of these. These are very good pickups, but they still want over $100 for this. I mean, I'm not going to pay more for this if I want. I got lucky and got all these in the trade. But, I mean, I'm a strong supporter of the trade. You see things on Marketplace like this, ask them if they're going to trade. Then start with the things that you have that you don't like. You know, somebody else might like them. This guy liked the fluid extractor pump, you know, so we both got something we wanted. I got a Snap-on Modus, and he got a Harbor Freight fluid extractor pump. You know, I offered him a DeWalt table saw, a job site table saw, a Hitachi sliding, I mean, 10-inch radial arm saw, it slides, I mean, laser sight, everything, you know, and he wanted the fluid pump. This is the same thing. This is a coil and cap. This would be for like HEI, but these are all good. But that'll get you that parade pattern. If you ever hear Danner talking about the Sun machines, a lot of his illustrations in the book are in a parade pattern. But Snap-on came up with these flags. And what this is you lay this over the top of the coil. And whenever this came out, like 2016, there was all standard size coils. But the different parts of the kit allow you to do any engine configuration. Like this one, if you just wanted one, you'd more than likely use one of these. But you could use this. You just put this flag, you don't tape it, and it does get a very good signal. If you want it less of a signal, you put it one way, because sometimes the signal is really intense for secondary. I mean, they get very good secondary pickups, but these don't fit a lot of modern coils. But the system, the way it was meant, you get one long lead like this. Well, you get 2 long leads like this. And it's like Christmas lights. There's 3 of these flags strung. So if you had a 6-cylinder, you could use this and the other one. So, and you have 6 cylinders on one channel. If you had a 4-cylinder, you'd use this string with 3 on it, and you would add one of these, the 1. So you have a 4-cylinder. So you could get any, I mean, you could even take these 3 on the string and put these 2 1s on there and do VW inline 5. But that's a big if these coils are going to fit anymore. You know, they fit some coils, but you have to keep these on there. You have to keep them on the cap. But that's the background of why I came up with wanting to use Rotkee.com, they have a pickup like this, and I'll show you. I didn't even open the box yet. But this is the whole idea I had, is to kind of replace this and put it on one channel on Hscope. So we could get 4 if it was an inline, because he makes these sensors in the same configurations as this. I only got the one for an inline 4. But I always like having a package in the mail coming from Rodkey. These are very, his equipment's very cheap. I mean, his sensors, they're great and they're cheap. And I figure, just keep adding them. I got 2 different ignition pickups this time, but I haven't even tried this test out. I know this isn't live, but this is kind of like live me seeing if this works. It's kind of a drag that we got a monocoil, but I think we're still going to see something on Hscope with it. And that's the thing with these guys. I mean, you can't roll these up and store them neatly. You have to have a box or something. They're not very convenient. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but I guarantee you, if I was looking for one of them sensors, everything in this box got to come out. Okay, guys, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I just seem to be getting out more and more stuff. But this is more for the new guys, people that haven't gotten a scope yet, that you're getting into it. I mean, I wish whenever I was getting into it, there was something as simple as this, but it all goes into Rodkey. So, just bear with me. When you watch Scanner Danner videos, if that's how you're learning the oscilloscope, if you're on with the premium, if you're on with anything and you want to follow around with them, the first thing you hear them say is, I mean, channels make a difference. You should have more channels. And that's true. But if you're just learning the scope, the first thing you're going to do is go to eBay, you're going to go to Amazon, you're going to Google automotive oscilloscope. And what comes up, I mean, all the time is these Hantecs. That's the first thing I did. Well, actually, I got the Hscope first. That's still a good investment. That Hscope, fast. Yeah, it's very fast. But you're going to find these Hantec 1008Cs, and I mean, I don't want to diss them too bad, because you can fix cars with these. They're good oscilloscopes. But the system they use, the software, you're not going to be able to change some of the time bases like how Danner does. That's the same with the Mixig Vado. It only has, the time bases are great, but some of the voltage attenuators are only on, multiples of 10. So you're going to go for this scope. And almost anything, because of the resolution of it and the buffer length too, you're not going to see like what you see on any of these YouTube videos. I mean, so you're going to be a little bit disappointed. In any accessory that you run with this, you're still going to be disappointed. It's not going to follow around. But I can't say that you can't fix cars with this. I'm just saying that you're learning a system that it's not going to do you a lot of good in the future, because it doesn't let you, adjust some of the times. It comes with, these alligator clip style leads. So a lot of them, I mean, you could reuse, but you're using T-pins with these and they're very short, so it's, you could cut them and make other cables. But once you get this, anything you put into it, you're going to be blaming the scope, and you're going to be right. Now, moving on. Whenever I was looking for a scope and I found Rodkey, I thought I finally made my decision. This looks like a budget scope. I mean, and he does some crazy stuff with it, with that scripts, and I mean, you get cylinder readouts. I mean, it's a round waveform, it looks pretty cool. I mean, but it does everything else too. I thought for sure, and it was like $200 some. I'm like, yeah, that's in my price range. I'll be able to do everything Danner's doing. I'll be able to actually follow along. Well, I came to the point before this that you just have to, after I bought that Hantec, I said, well, if that's what you get for that master kit, then I just got to save up and get a Pico, master kit. And in the meantime, watch all these videos until I had enough money to get the Pico. So just think how much time you waste, how many waveforms you could have captured, how many cars you could have fixed that you weren't really sure about. But you'd have been a lot ahead if the Hantec actually got you, used to back probe and used to getting the signal. So you can go that route, but you're using your laptop, and I'm not about that yet. I like using the laptop for editing or something. If I bring it in the garage and it falls into a fan, my oscilloscope's gone. My all data's gone. Everything's gone. I can't even edit my laptop flying across the shop. But I found I couldn't get that scope. I was watching Danner videos, and I was on premium for years, and I never heard about Hscope. It might have been in the forums, but the forums, you're talking to a lot of guys that are using Snap-ons, that have Snap-ons and Picos. It's great if you're a member of premium. You could send waveforms back and forth to each other. I mean, known goods, Pico has a huge library of that. Well, after that scope's out of stock and it's not available, and it says the production's, done for good on Rodkey. So I was still looking for another scope. And then I found Hscope. And, I paid $95 for this HS512. They make the Max now that's a little bit more shielded against an open spark, because that's the only thing I ever found that knocked this offline, is whenever I had a plug out of the engine and a spark tester knocked off. No big deal. That's nothing. That's why I like having multiple scopes. But with this scope, just for an example, the images I had an AES Wave amp clamp. The images that it got, even though it's out of range, compared to this brand new Handtech, this doesn't look as detailed as this. Now, I guarantee you, if I've never owned this AES Wave high amp clamp, and I seen that on there, I would have said, if I wasn't seeing enough resolution, it's enough. It's definitely enough, but there's definitely a difference. So I would have thought that was the scope's limitation, because it's $100 scope. No, that scope got more resolution than the Handtech. So if you're using these and you don't think Hscope got a good enough resolution for you, up your accessories. It's not the scope. But if it was the Handtech, these look the same. No, there's no difference, except this one's reading higher amperage on the Handtech 1008C. But on Hscope, the detail of the AES Wave, it's reading about 200 amps. I hope there's an internal calibration, or, I just got this Handtech. Now I see maybe I should have, but there's no way I would have known if I didn't own both. So that's just something I'm passing along. The Handtech is definitely usable. It's half the price of the AES Wave, but, there is room to go up. Don't think it's your scope unless you check it with another amp clamp or anything that you're getting a different pattern on. Hscope gives you a better resolution with better accessories. Now that leads back to the ignition. If it's common to use the Handtech, the HT25 for a coil over plug pickup, and for the over the wire pickup, for on the spark plug wire, if you're using it for a sync, or if you're using it for the secondary waveform. Now I have both of them, and I've used both of them. The snap-on images are a million times better than the Handtechs, but the Handtechs are usable. But now with Rodkey, everything I've got from them has been top-notch quality. I got this pulse sensor from them. This thing gets an awesome waveform. You don't actually measure voltage with it, but I guarantee, prove myself, I could find a misfire with this. I'll have to look up the price for it, but I think this was $16. But once we're out of not having to save up for a Pico scope before you could start testing, for $100 scope, now Martin makes these scopes. He doesn't make too many accessories for them, but they're universal. They're BNC. So you could use these cheaper Handtechs. But Rodkey, they give you he uses them himself. So, and if you watch his videos, you're actually going to see the Rodkeys in action. The scope will blow you away. Then you're going to go look for it, and it says, they're not being produced anymore. But this sensor is awesome for the price. I know the first look ones, they're bigger and they cost more. A lot of people 3D print them and resell them, but this thing's awesome. Or you can make one out of a smoke detector, the sensor in it. But For 16 bucks, I'm not making it. Big heavy microphone cord. If you go the route with this transducer, he sells a transducer. It was out of stock whenever I ordered it. It's back in stock. I mean, I might end up getting one of them down the road anyway. But this comes with, a lot of people find fault with the equipment. And to show you Rockee's quality, this is just an example. This is what everybody complains about. The hose that comes with, what is it, the JHAPT 100. I just call it the pressure transducer, so I'm sorry, guys. But this is, if you see the crimp on it, that's what people say, is cheaply done in it. And if you look at Rotkees and look at the difference in, just the size of the fittings. So you have to find somebody that sells universal parts and quality ones. Now this is the tube that comes with that transducer. It's aluminum. A lot of people say they leak air. I haven't really experienced that much, but these are the pipes that Rodkee sells. These are heavy duty. Just one of these weighs, twice as much as this. These are heavy duty pipes. These are heavier than what comes with a Pico, and we could use them with great effectiveness on a $100 scope. That's the idea. That's why Rodkee is such a good, fit for what he sells. He doesn't sell absolutely everything, but take a look at his site, man. I haven't even opened this box yet, but whenever you see that kind of quality difference already, you could start expecting that from Rodkee. I haven't had a bad order at all yet. I ordered this on the 3rd, and this is the 17th. So it takes 2 weeks shipping, but I will tell you when I tracked it, it sat in New York longer than it sat in Kiev. So, he gets them right out. And the mill, that's how it goes. All right, I'm going to open up that box, and we're going to get to, what my idea actually was. Some of you guys might even did this before. Rockee's been around a while. These sensors have been around a while. They're new to me, because I got them with that modus, and I never really seen too many videos using the flags to pick up ignition. But we're going to try on this monocoil, guys. All right, guys. I wish my Amazon packages came this well shipped. The whole box is shrink wrap, so you are going to need a knife to cut this open. It's well packed and shrink wrapped. These are for wires, guys. He's really got this. Technically it is going through a war zone, that you got to respect him for still shipping. We're over here not worrying about much, and they're getting bombed still sending us sensors. If you actually go to Rotkee site, you could see where they tracked down a drone. A drone hit pretty close to them. But these are the 4-wire. These are heavy duty cables, just like it's like microphone cable, like how you can see the split for them. So we have 2 there, and we have 2 there. So even if you had ones far away, like he always does videos on the Subaru, these are far enough away for a boxer engine. You got a pretty long cord with it, BNC connector. Now, my idea was, to get all 4 of these on Hscope. You see how small these are. They're not coil specific. And what you do is you take anything. This is double-sided tape. This is Gorilla tape. You just cut a little piece, and you can actually reuse it a couple times if you wanted. I found this down Goodwill. I got it for like 50 cents. The whole roll of alien tape. That'll last you a while with these. But being everything's an experiment, I also got the hot glue gun on it. Now, I don't want to use this on a brand new sensor, knowing if it's going to damage it. So what I'm going to do is try to find something plastic like the same consistency and hot glue it on the side of that monocoil. So it wouldn't be doing nothing, but it's going to be showing me how easy it is to get hot glue off of something like this, because this would definitely, we all know double-sided tape, sometimes it's, real pain to get part of that off. Now, that's pretty cool. These are what I'm going to use right now. Now this would be, if you did want to see like on a coil, either one secondary ignition, or if you had a coil wire, you could see. And he sells these for waste spark and everything, guys. Like, I mean, color coded for directional for waste spark. I mean, take a look at his leads. But these are the same as like the snap-on flags that I was showing you, only this is much more storable. You know, so that's pretty cool, but it would be the same thing. You know, he sells them in different configurations, but, you know, if you use two of the fours, you could do a V8 on 2 channels. You know, having twist tie difficulties, but at any rate, this is the same style heavy duty cord, but this is what you clip over the wire. And I'll show you what like everybody, oh, I'm sorry, what everybody uses that's very cheap and available. These hand techs. This is the HT25, and you just clip this over your wire. They work pretty good, but this is the only one I'm used to in the old Sun machines, but Hscope got a lot more resolution than the Sun machine does. So they had real nice, you know, heavy duty you clip over the coil wire. I mean, they weren't flimsy like this. But this is pretty neat. There's no spring, it just clips over the wire. So we're going to use that another day. And today, we're going to see if this works on a monocoil. All right, guys, that's got one of these body plugs out. It's pretty much the same consistency. So I'm going to stick it on the monocoil a little bit with some hot glue and see if it's easy to clean off this. I'll feel better using it on this, but you know, taking off that double-sided tape, I mean, you think it's going to come off in like a minute. Probably took me 5 minutes just to get the plastic off. I got 4 pieces on the coil, but you know, getting the one end off is a little bit tough. Okay, guys, sorry about the noise again. The engine's running, the exhaust fan's going. I just want to show you my setup real quick, and this is one of the things that gets mentioned a lot. Hscope, sometimes with secondary ignition probe, some people get knocked off. I've never really had much trouble with the secondary. A couple times with the hand tech with the coil, the paddle probe, it would go for like about 30-40 seconds and get knocked off. But this is for secondary ignitions, and Hscope isn't getting knocked off at all. Like I said, it only happens when I got a spark plug out of the engine and then a spark tester, so that's no big deal. It's a great secondary scope. I mean, it's your lead. With that snap-on secondary pickup, never gets knocked off. It's just with the cheaper hand tech ones. Because let me flip this around and show you. Now these are just kind of guessing where it is, but the Gorilla Tape didn't work too good. This is Alien Tape. It worked a lot better. The Gorilla Tape, by the time you get the one layer off, it's not sticky anymore. These are holding great. This one I turned around because of the waveform I seen on there. I wouldn't expected this to be firing one positive and one negative, but it is. I just wanted to make sure by flipping the coil around, because there's no numbers on these. You're getting 4 patterns, but you don't know which cable is which signal is which, because your firing order could be different. But let me show you the signal I got. But I'm going to flip it around on screen recorder just again so you could get a better view. Alright guys, I moved them around each way. They don't seem to be directional, but because this is a monocoil, it's firing one on the negative side. Well, I'm going to just go with that because I can't seem to move them and manipulate them and to like, you know, change the direction of it, like if you had it inverted. So, but it wouldn't be that big of a, so we could go up to 600, but 300's fine for us. 150's even actually fine for picking up secondary.
And then just let her rip. I'm going to give her a little bit of acceleration, give her a snap too, so we have something to look at. Okay guys, now I'm going to just stop it. Just look back a little. See, some of them are firing. It's not going opposite. It doesn't change whenever I change even the orientation of which pickups on which. So we're basically looking for secondary, which you could invert it one waveform at a time. But when you use an oscilloscope, you do get used to reading, you know, upside down waveforms. Because this would be your burn line on this one. And then the next one, it goes positive. Your burn line's on top. This one, we're not seeing the peaks, but we're still seeing the burn line. This is going to find your misfire. See, it's upside down, but there's the burn line. You could invert it, but then your next one's going to be, you're still going to have backwards one. But I mean, that's pretty damn good secondary ignition for getting 4 of them at once, like in a parade. Because if you zoom even further out, you can see all your ignition patterns. Now, I'd feel a lot better if that was on regular coil over plug coils. This is that mono coil, and I mean, I can't be too accurate, so I wouldn't judge these KV lines or anything like that. But spark, yeah, that was probably under snap coming up there. See, this one I might have a little bit off center. I did move them around. Well, it's firing upside down if you zoom in on it. We're getting a little bit of squiggle in there. I think that's just where I have the plug, but we're getting a good waveform on all 4 of them. If one of these was completely missing, you're definitely going to see it, you know, that live on Hscope. So, I mean, you could play around with, you could put the phase rulers or cylinder identifiers if you wanted to, like this, and you could put it on, say, number 1, 1, 2, 3, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we want to line this 1 up with that one. You could do it like this, and then lock the phase rulers. Like if you touch them and you move this, hit this lock, whenever you move this, they'll all move with you. So you can move your waveform and still take this, and it's set up to line up with your cylinders. Then you could pick up one of them coils, and one of these is going to disappear. But being this is only on one channel, what I want to try is back probing one of them fuel injectors and using it for a sync. That's going to be much more accurate. But you can identify just by taking one of them off which cylinder you're going to be on. We could see a burn line in them. I mean, it's, if you're looking for a misfire and you don't see something like that, you know, you're going to be, but you could get all 4 of them on until you see a misfire. That's pretty cool. I'm just looking at the tips. I mean, we're just looking at the burn lines on these things. But right now, we have no way of knowing which cylinder's which. We're just looking for a misfire. And if you could pick it up on this, and it repeats itself, well, you know, you got a problem, buddy. Well, let me get that back probed, and we're going to see if the secondary, or the fuel injector, if we could time where it is and which cylinder's which that way. Alright guys, going for the injector, they have these little flip caps on them, because you can't back probe them with the cap down like this one. Let me get the light in there a little closer. See,
there square, and it looks like you can't get a back probe in them. But it's just a little flip cap that flips up and down. This little guy. There's not too much metal that'll actually hold something, but this piece flips up, and then you can see your weather packs down in there. And we all know from watching Scanner Danner, it's the only wire that changes color is going to be our control wire. So we're gonna, this one, the first number one is purple and green. This one you could see is purple and orange. And over here, that one's purple and a little bit less purple. So we want the one that's changing color. Like on this cylinder, you'd want the orange one. This one, we want to back probe the green wire. And we should get it an injector signal. Then we could time out with one of these spark events. And I'm going to put an attenuator on the scope. Times 10 might do it, but I always start with a times 20. I mean, you never want to blow up your stuff. So, you know, I start with a times 20. If I have trouble getting a signal and I see it's low, then I'll go to a 10, but I never seem to have trouble with the 20s. Okay guys, there's the setup. Just going to battery ground. Got the number one fuel injector back probe. Still got the 4 secondary pickups. Got a 20-to-1 attenuator on channel 2. On channel 2, got on an 8-volt scale, and actually I got to switch to 20 times. Okay, and from that I'm going to run it, but I'm going to switch over to the screen recorder. Hey guys, I shut the fan off just to get some more, you know, so the sound isn't so screwed up. Here we see our primary, and you could even see the pintle hump and everything on it with it. But we're just using this for a sync. I mean, technically, you could measure your pulse width, whatever you want, but the biggest thing we notice, the injector waveform's much bigger than ignition. So to make that right, if you look up here, whenever I press the number 2 channel, you're going to have until that light goes off to pinch to zoom that green channel. And what we're going to want to do is make that smaller so we could blow up the whole screen. It'll look more proportionate. So look for the OK up here when I press the button. You have that long. As long as you're moving, that's fine. It gives you time to move your fingers. But when you stop and let go, when that light goes out, now you could zoom in on the whole thing. If it's still a little bit too big for you, do it again. Get it down to where you like looking at it. Then once that green light goes off, you know, you could blow the whole thing up. So what you'd want to do, being we proved, or at least we're going to assume this is the number 1 cylinder because we have its injector back probe. What we're going to do is from up here, drop the cylinder identifiers, and if you go to the gear, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 1, 3, 4, 2. Save. So you could go back, and we know this is number 1. Line that up with the firing line. Line this number 1 up with the next firing line. So now you see all the firing lines are lined up for your cylinders. You have 1, 3, 4, 2. So you're getting 4 ignition signals and 1 injector sync, you know, with a 2-channel scope. So if you could find, that's all you need for your sync to find wherever you're at. You could even see in here that injector shutting off during the decel. I mean, that's pretty cool. But anywhere you go on it, we're still lined up. The line moves a little bit as the engine RPM increases or decreases. The line moves, so you're going to want to line up. If you find a problem, like say we found a misfire, I mean, we could still tell we're close to number 1, but you might want to reline them up there because our sync's way down here where we lined them up at.
But that's as easy, you know, to get rid of them as just hitting them again. You get a new set here with the arrows up here where you're working. You could remove it down, line that up with number 1, move this one down, line that up with number 1, and then look for your missing cylinder. If you found your miss, wait a minute, I see something isn't lined up right. Okay, I didn't go back. This number 1, I want to move back to number 1. I'm sorry. So now, if you see a misfire somewhere and you have this sync with 2 channels, you could, if you don't know what cylinder is misfiring, you know, hell, you could identify it. Even if some are inverted. I mean, I found no way around that. I moved the actual sensor every different direction, and some still come back inverted. That might just be inherent to it, but I'm telling you, the more you use an oscilloscope, the less you care about the inverted. If you're looking for a positive measure voltage, yes, that's fine. But if you're looking at spark lines, you know, the more you look at a scope, the more you don't mind seeing them inverted. You're still looking at the same thing. You know, you're still looking at the same thing as this. And I'm telling you, for a 2-channel scope, you know, for a $100 2-channel scope with a Rodkey sensor, be able to get that, you know, classic parade form and be able to identify the cylinders. And see, these are the degree rulers. Some people had questions. We wouldn't be using them for this, but if you wanted 720 on these, you touch this gear and it'll change. That's 720 with the piston direction. You don't have to have the piston direction. It's 100 degrees, 360, 720, 720 with the piston directions. I mean, that's pretty, and when you're done with that, same thing as everything else. Flick it off the screen. Oh, yep, there we go. But it's pretty cool that that's included. That would be timing your crankshaft with valve events. So, but a couple people did ask the question if it had 720 degree rulers. Yes, it does. I mean, this is all in the automotive module, guys. All your phase rulers, your degree rulers, cylinder identifiers, that all comes with the automotive module, and you're not going to get that much software with any scope for that much, and the ability to be customized. But yes, that'll find a misfire. You know, you can't always get to an injector, but there's always a way around something. This was very passive. I used a mini back probes again, you know, so it's a good learning experience, and it's something on a known good. You're not chasing down a problem right now. Right now, you're just getting used to your stuff. And I'm telling you, if you're sticking with this kind of platform and not getting a master kit that everything is included with, you're going to be using these universal leads, and I'm telling you, you know, Rotkey's one of the best places you could get these things.
All right, guys, I hope you found something in that enjoyable. That was pretty cool. I was looking forward to, every time I look on Rodkey, I kind of put something on my wish list and try to always have something coming, you know, one thing a month or something like that. But this is a great lead to have in your toolkit for that. They sell these with a single pickup too. I'm going to get one of them, so you could just use for a secondary in case we're doing something like say a pressure transducer or something like that, where you're actually using the coil for a sync. We wanted to get all 4 coils waveforms on the screen, but sometimes you might just want one just to get that coil syncing. If it's that easy, that's very easy setup. The direction on them, I can't figure out. Like, no matter how you move them, a couple still seems inverted. This is a mono coil. This isn't an ideal test, but it worked, you know, on a mono coil. I would have rather had 4 individuals, but I mean, hey, that proved, you know, pretty accurate. I like that. So let me flip this around. That's just a simple setup. You know, you guys know I always like working from back here. I don't like getting my stuff close to under the hood, but this is the end of the experiment. This is the piece I used the hot glue on. I gave it a little tug before and it came loose, but the big part is this. Look, right on. It held on there pretty good, and the hot glue comes off there cleanly. So, I mean, and that's the same thing as these sensors. See how good that alien tape holds them up. But, you know, any kind of tape like this, you have that little, you have to go around and flick the other end off. Then you have to get it off the coil. You can reuse it, but, you know, what you going to do? Leave it on the end of that? I'm going to just keep cutting new. But next time I'm going to try hot glue. It's a lot easier and a lot quicker. And if it comes off that easy, that's a win. All right, guys, a day of experiment. Well, an hour anyway. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Adios. All right, guys. There's always one final note. The things I learned. I mean, I do like these. These are heavy duty rubber. You say Rotkee on them. I mean, you could tell they're heavy duty rubber. Very heavy duty cable. Can't wait to use this. I drive an old boogie van. It got the single coil. I might just reach under the hood and put that on just to see what this picks up. Them HT25s, I mean, they don't pick up very good. And it's, you know, if this picks up a little bit better, and plus it's a little bit easier to use with a longer cord. So either way, I think I'm going to enjoy that. But I did like getting, you know, using these patterns like that. You'd definitely be able to find a misfire. Cords are well built, and you know, I get more excited seeing one of these boxes than I do, you know, Christmas presents, because that's, you know, you wait 2 weeks to get it, but when you get it, it's well worth it. And I just wanted to show you what I paid for them. The blue one that we used, that's the L4 coil on plug probe. That was $32. The pickup probe for the plug wires was only $8. So $40, $18 shipping, $58. So you're looking like, you know, roughly $60 or something like this that you're going to have in your toolbox and another probe. His prices are very good. I mean, very reasonable. He even has an affiliate program. Like if I put a link down here and you bought it off of the link that I posted, that he actually gives you a commission on it. But I mean, come on, guys, this is, I'm not putting that link down there. It's Eugene, you gave me something. No, I mean, you gave me something. I don't want nothing for it. I mean, if you guys go there and you decide to buy something for him, I mean, that's all him. The link down there is just a general Rodkey link. Go take a look at his stuff if you never have. If you have, you know what I'm talking about, guys. All right, have a good one. Adios.